Let's celebrate movies in the best way we know how here on the Intercut podcast, which is to talk about all of the new stuff that is out this week. I see we have had a beautiful subscriber who's been in the chat for such a long time. And I feel like if your name is at TMNT Addict, you might have been in a particular place this weekend watching a little movie known as Mutant Mayhem, the newest film from who they're calling Permanent Teenager, Seth Rogen, comes the ugliest, Zach, the most grotesque looking animation for the whole family that I've seen this year.
Yeah, a lot of people are rushing to connect this one to Spider-Verse because it does have sort of like more of a hand-drawn style, comic booky look to it. But it is a lot grungier and slimier and uncomfortable to look at than most of Spider-Verse.
Honestly, the adults here look disgusting. They look like they were put in a blender. In Space Jam, when they grabbed Michael Jordan and they squeeze his head, the Monstars, in order to make him into a basketball. That's what every adult looks like here. The turtles that are mutants look the best.
Yeah.
But they're fighting a villain that is this fly. It looks uglier than Jeff Goldblum's transformation. You have this sequences where people are projectile vomiting. They are suckling on rodent lips. This is just scratching the surface of what makes this movie utterly despicable. And yet, this is the first time they said that they've cast nothing but kids for the voice actors, and they absolutely killed it. I think that the writing was really on point when it came to actually making them feel like a bunch of kids just getting together, teenagers who have never been in the real world, and they cast did a killer job. One of them that I definitely wanted to shout out, two of them in particular, actually all four of them. Let's start with the end. Do you know who Brady Noon is?
No, tell me more.
It's the boy from Good Boys. He was the one who does all the singing. It was his second role of all time.
Yeah.
He had done a little Boardwalk Empire. He was one of the three kids in Good Boys. So obviously he already had that Seth Rogen connection. Comes in, I thought killed it here, did a really good job. Then you have Nicholas Cantu, who is one of the voices who did Gumball. You already know. I'm a huge Gumball fan.
Yeah.
I thought he killed it. Shout out Shaman Brown Jr. from Michelangelo, but Micah Abbey, to me, was the standout here as Donatello. Donatello, I think, had the best moments in the movie. Easily. I don't know if you had any favorites or what your favorite jokes in the movie were, but the banter they had was fantastic.
I just love in general that they chose to cast the main Mutant Ninja Turtles in this youthful way. I feel like you're probably the more knowledgeable person when it comes to the different iterations of this franchise, but I don't remember them ever going quite so young in the depiction of them. And it feels like far more in spirit with the show or the film itself, like the type of jokes that they're going for, the type of attitude that makes sense for these people to have. It makes sense to skew a little bit more young, and I think it just feels like cohesive. It feels like it matches in a way that I don't know if I felt watching the Michael Bay produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or anything like that. So I really like the voice, and Donnie's voice in particular. He's the one who has the most highest pitched of all of them, right?
Yeah.
His voice has dropped the least.
The kid.
But it's great. Yes. Having that contrast is really, really exciting. And particularly when they have those moments where they overlap each other and they're all sort of excitedly jabbering, it feels very youthful and true and fun and alive. So I think that was a really smart decision on their part.
Again, I think Good Boys has been the one that does it best. I know that one had a little bit of a pushback because people didn't like boys acting bad, which that is what kids do. This would be the more PG version of it. So this is your PG Good Boys, where I think the banter works really well. There are certain moments, I don't know if you felt this, where the writing for them felt a little bit more organic than when they made them deliver it. There are a lot of references in this movie. I never got bored with any of them, but I did feel bombarded by them, if that made any sense.
It's like so many references that it feels like it's written by a comedy writer rather than the
kids.
Than the kids itself. Particularly when they reference properties that probably came out before any of these voice actors were born. I think they do a good job for the most part of keeping like I was saying, the energy feeling youthful, keeping the spirit of like this is a movie for kids alive. But through some of those references, and especially through the music, like you can tell it's also gearing to people our age. And like I'm not complaining about a soundtrack full of all these 90s hip hop classics, but like that is definitely one for the people who maybe became parents rather than the kids itself.
Yeah. It's like you don't want to complain about it, but at the same time, it's like, I love the soundtrack, but this really is somebody else's soundtrack, not theirs. There's also just the factor of, like, they're very knowledgeable. And there's a part of it where it's like, you remember that documentary, the Wolfpack, where the kids all loved movies because their, like, dad never let them leave the house. So all they knew was how to recreate all these classic movies. These four kind of have that, but they do leave the house. They do have phones. They are on social media. So I'm like, is that only going to stop for you to reference like an Endgame fun fact? For you to give me these little poster cards of like the Chris's of Hollywood? I was wondering what else they could have done with that knowledge of them being able to have these secret identities, not just as the Turtles, who are ninjas, but like online. Could they do something? Could they not catfish, but I don't know, shellfish some people if they wanted to? Like I feel they would be a lot more clever with the technology that has now been introduced to these teens, right? You have to go like fully in. They want to go to high school. Okay, well, with high school comes this idea that everyone in a physical building cares more about their digital selves. That's just me wanting more, a little bit more out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Yeah. But the banter that they had with each other, I think worked a majority of the time. Sometimes it does feel like they're setting up for the bit more than anything else. But really what matters is the characters and how they bond with each other. I'm trying to pull one up here of Jackie Chan, who absolutely ate it up as Master Splinter. If I could find one of him,
that whole bond between the Mutant Ninja Turtles as like these kind of brothers and Splinter as their pseudo dad. I thought all of that aspects of it worked really well in this film. Like the familial bond feels more real than it typically does in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle adaptations. So there's just like a really cool vibe to it too. I don't know. I just really dig the larger collection of characters assembled here, even beyond the familiar ones. There's a lot of new ones, particularly the whole Superfly gang that we get introduced to has a lot of really fun voice actors in it as well.
What do you think of Ice Cube?
I mean, I loved his reference. What was the police knocking at my door? Yeah.
I was like, come on, bro. I was also surprised how many times he got away with going, what the hell? What the hell? What the hell?
It definitely pushed PG. I was surprised.
And look, that's the one thing that I'll appreciate. Even when I was looking at Superfly and just utterly disgusted by like I don't even think flies have saliva, but the ooze that was coming out of him, I was like, you know what? But I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want a clean version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It needs to be this grimy, like you said.
Scuzzy. They're from the sewers.
But talk about them. I'll flip through them. You let me know which ones were your favorites.
I mean, I'm always down for a Paul Rudd cameo, but I feel like they were also very in love with this Paul Rudd character.
Yeah, people were really digging him.
Yeah. Any ones in particular that stood out to you from the larger cast?
I thought it was interesting to have Seth Rogen and John Cena as Bebop and Rocksteady. I thought they were pretty decent. I can see them getting a lot more in a future movie. Felt like setup for sure.
I really like Nastasia Dimitru, who played Wingnut. She's very funny on What We Do in the Shadows. Just has a very kind of sing-songy comedic voice.
That was her. Yes. Okay.
Should we talk about our girl though? Io.
Let me see. Let's see if I can pull her up right here. Fantastic. April O'Neil. Mind you, we are going, as someone reminded me right now, from Megan Fox being April O'Neil to her. I thought it fit perfectly. There's a running gag with her as well that, while still disgusting all throughout, did make sense for her character. So it has been her summer.
And look, there were like little children in my screening of Mutant Mayhem, and those were their favorite bits. All of
really,
all that gross stuff. They
physical comedy
at it. Okay. Yeah.
Nah, she did a fantastic job. I think the fit they had on for her, this idea of wanting to be a reporter. Again, in my mind, I was still wondering who's reading the newspaper in this digital age, but whatever. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see how they carry on with her character, especially now that, well, I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but how it develops between her realizing who the Turtles are and where they're going to take that. Some of the other ones would have been, you had mentioned Natasha. Giancarlo Esposito comes in really quick as the guy who creates the ooze. And I was like, okay, cooking again. Hannibal Buress played, I want to say the leapfrog looking character.
I feel like he didn't have a lot to do. I didn't even realize it was him until the credits rolled.
Yeah, not much because, and I don't know if the other one will appear, but there is another character who sings. It's Post Malone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I'll have the Mr.
Ray
Beast one in here, but that was a big thing too as well for Mr. Beast being one of the people in the Times Square flashback. Maya Rudolph coming in as a villain. I want to say Maya also had a role in a Spider-Verse movie. I feel maybe I could be mistaken, but
maybe
she's playing kind of like the
voice actress.
Yeah, she's like the overarching villain. For what they may be wanting to do with this franchise. Of course, he had to bring in his girl, Rose Byrne, coming in to play another Aussie here in The Alligator. And it was pretty much all of the voice actors. If I'm not mistaken, Seth Rogen also had done a voice there. Here's the Post Malone one. Yeah, all he does is sing. But I don't think he has something in the soundtrack. But
yeah, I mean, it seems like they're also trying to make this part of like the larger world of characters too. Are you excited about the idea of continuing with this extended cast? You know, the movie made a little over 28 million at the box office domestically this weekend, which is that's solid. Decent. And it seems like we'll probably get a sequel at some point whenever the various strikes end. So are you excited for it?
For sure. Hey, I need more outings to this. Like I said, this is the one franchise my sister and I go all out for. Whatever bucket they may have. I think they have a fantastic post-credit scene. I think that the banter that they have with the kids is really good. Plus, they're really good voice actors. I'm excited to see what they have in the future. And the only thing that I would say that I'm learning to embrace is this idea of, are the jokes going to age already? But in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, like the 90s one, where all of those jokes aged, is that not the point? Bring them. I think that they're each just period pieces of how cringy, how grimy, how disgusting teens are at a certain point in time, told through 4 Ninja Turtle brothers. So I'm excited for more. I thought this one was really funny, really disgusting, and a good time in theaters. Fantastic soundtrack, though. So if you do get to catch it in Dolby, I think you got like a couple more days. Woo!
Yeah. Not just the soundtrack, too. We should give a quick mention, at least, to the Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross score. Like, that's...
Thank you.
That's
Have you seen the titles?
No, actually, I didn't read through it.
Talk about it and I'll pull them up.
Well, I just, like, it's a abundance of riches to have your animated kids movie scored by potentially the, like, most iconic film composers of the past decade. That being said, it did remind me a lot of Daniel Pemberton's work on the Spider-Verse movies. I don't know if that's intentional or unintentional.
I think
with
just
the
so
like
much
heavy
things
synths and stuff.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to pull it up right here. This is what we have for the score as track titles. I saw this get posted up, Zach, and I didn't believe it. I was out on vacation. And I had to pull it up myself to realize. Are you ready?
Yeah.
The Man in the Basement. Dipshits on a Roof. Murder the Shreks. You know, some normal titles until you start getting to like, I Just Met You, You Almost Killed. Zach, read number 16.
Megamind Gru type shit. Very, very kid-friendly soundtrack here.
She's gonna milk us. Enter the 37th Chamber is when I knew, okay, they're working on something. Better than Mark Ruffalo. They have like the most insane titles for a kids movie score.
So funny.
So yeah, they're going all out with it. Shout out the boys for working on this. Fantastic. Had they done an animated movie?
That's a good question. I would guess not, but maybe they were brought in for one of the Pixar movies. They didn't do like what was the one, Soul? Were they in that?
They might have done Soul. You are correct. Okay.
Yeah.
This is more up their alley. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, out in theaters. Let us know your thoughts. What your favorite TMNT movie may be out of all of them. So I think this one is definitely a good way to take the franchise. Beautiful animation. Good movie out in theaters.